Hello, hello, hello. Happy Wednesday. How's everyone doing today? Good morning, Royal Palms. Good morning, Heinrich. Good morning, John. Good morning, Mark. Hope your week off is going well. Good morning, Patrick. Hope your traveling's going well. Good morning, Sterling. Thank you for putting in the earnings. Target was a beat. Guidance was not great. They reaffirmed it, but again, then they're going to be replacing the CEO. Down 10.7. I think that's a bit of an overreaction. Has anybody looked at the pure valuation of Target? It's trading like at 11 PE. It's going to be a really good buy at some point. Really good buy. Just from a valuation standpoint. SA Ladder beat down over 5.5%. TJ Maxx saw that beat stock up. I mean that's like at 32. Now it's going to drop a bit after this earnings, but again, it's just why you got to follow the trend. Gotta follow the trend. Good morning, David. Baidu beat miss down 2.4. Good morning, Tony. Good morning, Dean. Lowe's was a beat stock up 2.82%. Hello, Charles. Good morning, Ted. Good morning, Rick. Good morning, Jacob. All right. Thank you, everyone. Good morning to Rusty Swimmer, over on Rumble. What else do we have going on? Not much going on today. Analog Devices was a beat, stocks up. Mortgage rates holding steady from about last week. 10-year hasn't done that much. EIA numbers come out for crude traders, and we have the FOMC meeting minutes. We got Waller and Bostic speaking. And tonight kicks off Jackson Hole Symposium. But we'll see what the FOMC meeting minutes said. Why is that? There we go. That's better. All right. Now we're back on New York time. S&P 500. Palantir AI start and other things like massive momentum stocks starting crushed yesterday. Big shift. I'm wondering if we're getting to the top in big shift in AI. Big shift in AI. We're going to see the next bounce. We're going to now watch for the secondary reaction. We got momentum yesterday. Remember I said, and again, no short and watching for the bounce right now, but we did get momentum to the downside. We broke the key support levels I was looking at, and we did it with momentum. Now, there was a little 4-hour percent beat buy in S&P and NASDAQ, so the key lows from a little bit ago are very key for this morning for me. There's your ADI Analog Devices after their earnings beat. Intel back to .com valuations. Everybody's now piled in Intel because the government's going to take a stake in it. Oh, boy. Oh, I don't even know what era we live in anymore. I don't know what era we live in. Can somebody tell me? Please clarify it for me. I did not see it, Sterling. Home foreclosure filings jump 11%. Huh, interesting. Good morning, Anissa. So, and we had Meta also restructured their AI team. That was weighing on it. And Meta also reached the full target of the double. U.S. bankruptcies support suppressed. I did see that too. Again, thank you for putting in the news, Sterling. Really appreciate it. There's your TJ Maxx, up close to 5% now. The max for the minimum at TJ Maxx. And we got Lowe's. There you go. There's your song for today. Energy, financial, healthcare, leading. Comm services with Meta and Google. Where's Google? Google's down. They're both down slightly, but Amazon and Apple, the mega caps aren't doing so hot this morning. Fear and greed still in greed mode. We're not even in neutral mode yet. Schiller PE, even with this drop in the market, still above 38. 38. Sterling again. Tomorrow we have nothing after the close today. Tomorrow we got Walmart. Walmart's going to be real interesting. Walmart's going to be interesting. Walmart's another stock that's nowhere near cheap in valuations. Then we got Zoom. Zoom to the moon tomorrow. So let me show you. All right, we dropped through the rotation zone. We dropped through the first key support level, the 64.55 area yesterday. Came back down. We're closing in the bottom rotation zone, and this was a setup bar for a 4-hour %B buy that I'm paying attention to because of where we were. We've already triggered it. Now I'm watching for this low to hold, even on a pullback. Even on a pullback. If that low breaks, then I'm looking back to 6,400. But right in here, I'm watching, even if we pull back, I'm watching for this low to hold, because that's the technical stop level for that %B buy. Okay, so I'm looking for that low to hold. On the daily, again, we're close to a 4-hour rotation zone. If we break through 6,400 and close below 6,400, then 63.75 is roughly the fifth. It's a prior very key resistance turning into support level and the 50% harmonic. But that would be interesting if we did break below that, because that's, again, it would be hands off until we hit this level. And then the major line in the sand is 63.40. So that's where we look now. NASDAQ. So we closed below the rotation zone again. Last time we did that, we snapped right back above it the next day. But things are starting to really weaken in the NASDAQ. We're also approaching oversold conditions. And we had a little same thing in NASDAQ, a little follow through %B buy. So I'm paying attention to these lows at 23,334.25. We've also entered the zone between the 50% and the 62.5. Now, this is not for a super long-term bounce yet. This is for a bounce. Let me go back to the S&P. I didn't list my upside targets. I didn't list the upside targets because I'm paying attention to the 4-hour rotation zone. And on any major rally through the next couple days, my major target is back to 64.55. My minor target right there this morning is going to 64.33 and then 64.40 area. The NASDAQ, I'm looking, if it comes back up, my first key target area is right around this 23.480. And then I'm looking for the next major target, 23,600 to 23,626. Above there would be right around 23,735. And these are bounce places. If the NASDAQ rolls over and takes out this prior established low in the %B buy tail bar, then 23,260 is very key. Close below that shifts the probabilities, and we could easily retest the 50 EMA then, which has not been tested since May. So this is why this is key. And by the way, if we start getting below the 62.5, or we get another momentum downside day, I will look for shorts if we take out that low. The Dow, we do have a little double top that's not confirmed or triggered yet. This is technically a wide base double top. Again, could rotate back up. If it rotates back up above this 45, 250 areas off the table. And it may well do that, holding a very key support base. Key target on any move up in the Dow for me is 45,100. If we close below 44,834, at least on a 4-hour basis, then I'll look for the pullbacks. Russell also now pulled back into the rotation zone. Not much going on for me right now in the Russell. I'm mainly focused on the NASDAQ and the S&P. On any rally, though, it's coming into pretty key, if I can grab the right line, pretty key resistance area. So it's got to get above 22.89 to get something going on the bullish side. Other than that, I'll be looking more for tomorrow for a potential %B buy setup in the Russell. The VIX hit the first target on the double again. It's found some pretty significant resistance. It's getting stubborn up here. is getting stubborn at this first target area. You see it poked above it a little earlier, but again, can't really get any traction. So if this starts blowing through 16 again, then I'm really going to start focusing on the downside. It hasn't been able to do that. As much as we had to sell off yesterday, the VIX has not jumped that much. Hasn't even been able to complete the double pattern. If we start breaking below about 1550, I'm going to shift more to continuing watch for that snapback rally. Hey, Christoph, how you doing? We'll get to that. Remind me in a bit. The TXN chart. DAX, nothing to talk about here. Really nothing. Yields. Again, with the big drop in the market yesterday, yields did not pull back that much. Now holding key support. We are at cycle tops again, so we might go into another consolidation phase. We got Jackson Hole with Powell speaking on Friday morning. So, again, we still have, based off the pure pattern, we still have upside potential on this. This is not anywhere close to being invalidated. Crude, still looking closer to 61. We don't have a double right here. Anything we got a roll gap still technically. That's about it. Not any great setups in the crude market just yet. Could be watching, especially if we reconnect with the rotation zone for another rollover down there. Gold getting a nice pop against the trend line. Going to be watching where it closes in relation to yesterday's high. Cycles at a bottom. Yesterday's high is a percent beat buy, by the way. So I'm watching that high. And coming out of oversold against a very key support line. If this area breaks, then the key trend line is broken. I'm going to be patient until we get back between the 50 and the 62.5 for any gold longs. And this gets really interesting too. If we did drop and then close below the rotation zone, gold is not closed below the rotation zone. It closed at it here, roughly. But since this major breakout back in 2024, it's not closed below the weekly rotation zone on a weekly basis. So this 62.5, if we do not hold this trend line, is very key. Keep that in mind because that could definitely shift the longer term gold to neutral mode. Dollar index. Still, pullback today. Got a little gold pop with the dollar pullback. But not much to talk about unless we really break this trend line. By the way, if you've watched the 10 years on the Japanese 10-year, looks like it could today close at a new high, a new recent high. So this has been steadily making higher lows and now breaking out from a multi-top area. So that's going to get interesting coming up with the Bank of Japan. Spiders finished the little mini double yesterday. Slight gap down. Yesterday's low was 638.48, so we're gapping up from that. So I'm still going to be watching yesterday's low. If we do break below that, then right around about 637 to 637.50 is a key area of support. I'll be paying attention to futures, though, if they take out that percent beat buy bar low. Other than that, on any rally, I'm watching for or at any pullback, I'm watching for yesterday's low to hold, and then I'm watching for a potential gap fill to 639.81. The Qs, let me take this off also. Oh, don't slow down on me now. There we go. There we go. The Qs. Coming to the bottom of the rotation zone, just above the 50% harmonic. The 50% harmonic sitting at 567.50. So that is very key support. And also a very key close back from the 6th of August. So that is critical right there. If we break through that, then I'm looking closer to about 5.6. There's not much support in here. There's support coming in about 565, just in front of 565, 565.20. So it's 563.50 to 565.20 is the next major support zone. On any rally, I'm watching for the gap fill 569.28. Bitcoin trading against very key support. There still is the massive weekly double in place against the weekly rotation zone, but this is a very key support level. Not much going on for me right yet unless we set up a percent beat buy and follow through with that. We had what use double top. The double top on, yes, on the ZN has triggered and just a slight rally in there. But coming back to the breakout, the invalidation point for this, by the way, I'll just do it on this one. The invalidation point is all the way back at a close above 112.05. So, double tops on the ZN. Thank you for pointing that out, Christoph. What else? TXN. Inverse head and shoulders. Yes, that is an inverse head and shoulders. That is an inverse head and shoulders. That is true, Christoph. Oh, look at that final target and the 62.5. That's pretty interesting. I'd be looking if you're trying to get better risk and reward with overbought and cycles at the top for a pullback play, especially to the 200 for a potential long entry. That's how I'd be looking at it. So, but that could take a while to play out. Could definitely take a while to play out, so that is a correct pattern. Could you elaborate a bit more on where you would get more bearish on either the ES or NQ? Sure. The ES, I'll get more bearish if we close below 63.40. Other than that, still watching for bounce plays. Now, I'm not as bullish anymore, but I'm watching for a bounce play and then another rotation back up because, and why am I not? Because we're definitely getting a shift. We're definitely starting to get a shift in AI rah-rah mode. Here is NVIDIA. Closing below 62.5. Right here. So it's technically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 3 more days before the potential doubles off the table, but we could easily, based off this, retest this low area. Even the 172.59 area. So big shift in this. We've got Broadcom closing pretty much right at the 62.5. The 62.5 was 295.01. Yesterday's close was 294.91, so just technically below it. So we could, and there's a gap left behind that could easily be filled in this. So things are looking very, very toppy in the AI sector. I think we'll get another bounce. We could hit some of these key levels, and then we'll get a bounce, and that's going to be very critical. That is going to be very critical. That's why I'm going to be watching the next secondary reaction in the S&P and the NASDAQ. And technically, let me just double check. This is still technically on the table for a massive double top in AMD. So you're seeing we've already shifted to 62.5 on Broadcom, on NVIDIA. On the short term, AMD closed below the 62.5. So we could easily test this low area on that one too. And you know the weightings of all this. We also have Meta. Then I'll get back to the NASDAQ. I already said what it tipped me in the NASDAQ. Meta, which on the daily finished the double yesterday. And now holding this key earnings breakaway gap. We start breaking below this low and fall of 745.31 and follow through with a close below that. That's not good either. That's not good either. So you're getting more and more bearish setups that are following through. Now in the NASDAQ, the key tipping point for me is this 23,260. Now, when I'm watching for bounce plays, I'm still watching them. These are bounce plays only because once we get a nice follow-through buy, this will be the killer secondary reaction that's going to set up, could be a significant topping pattern in the NASDAQ, in the S&P, going into September. That's why I'm really curious on the next bounce, where that takes us. So, I'm watching for bounce setups only, not necessarily new highs. So that's where we sit right now. There's your TJ Maxx, that was a beautiful double, by the way. Going to next harmonic was 137.85. We're above that, then 139.85. We're opening just below that. And again, this is the momentum's now shifting to some other key stocks, but geez, this whole market is not cheap. I mean, from a technical standpoint, yeah, it's still trending up, but geez, from a fundamental standpoint, with that PE for TJ Maxx, not touching it for a long-term hold. You're welcome, Rick. All right, with that, that's about it. Again, to recap, I am paying very close attention on any pullback into the open at this key low of 64.09 in the S&P on a closing basis, a 4-hour closing basis to be specific. And that's what I have for you tomorrow. Remember, Walmart earnings, initial jobless claims, and that's where we sit. And we got Jackson Hole going on starting tonight after the market close. But Powell does not speak till Friday morning. I will talk to everyone back tomorrow morning. Bye for now.